Well, hello my fellow caramellers, how you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Luka's Kits. And I have got a real cool classic one of my favorite, my favorite MOPAR kit. I really always love this kit. I've had it a ton of times, and I've got this great one to take a look at for us if you've never really gotten a chance to dig into this old kit. This is not its first version of this kit. It originally came out in the early 70s as the Motown Missile Barracuda, driven by Don Carlton, and they did a really good job on this kit for back in the day. And remember, back in the early 70s, these kits were pretty simple, but this one, there's a lot of coolness about it that overshadows the simplicity of it. You guys always got to remember that are used to the kits that are being produced today, that these older kits were built to be in toy stores for kids. They were a little bit simpler. They didn't worry so much about perfect accuracy, but I'll tell you this, there's so much neatness about this kit, really coolness. Like, for instance, this is probably one of the earliest kits that had wheel tubs and big tires in the back, where they kind of jumped into the early pro street movement that started in the late 70s and repurposed this to be the Mpc Autoscape series, and then later on they did this version. If you ever get an opportunity to buy a buildup of one of these, or you might find one bagged, you might find a nice kit of it. Let's take a look at this thing. But let's first take a look at the box art. Mpc's box art back in the late 70s, early 80s, it was really cool looking. They really showed off the kit. And let's look over on the side here. Nice rear shot of the kit. And we move on. You see the tires and let's get this all straight in the camera. We get the tires and just all the cool features. It had a pretty decent front end. It was simple, but you know, you'll see it was pretty decent. The chassis was pretty decent. And of course, Mpc on the other side would give you a nice side shot that's actual size of the car. It was always cool. You see model showing actual size. This was always a cool feature on their box art. And of course, this, you have what's on the front, on the sides. So let's take a quick look at this thing. Okay, let's pop her open. And this is really cool because this kit is pretty well untouched. I haven't looked through it. I'm almost 100% sure that everything's in here. If not, I'm wrong. Well, I'm wrong. But first, well, since they're right on the top, I was going to take a look at the instructions, but I can't seem to find them. I might not even have the instructions in here. Oh, that's a bummer. I don't have the instructions. Oh, what a bummer. These dang, curse these rubber tires. Look what it did to the roof. That sucks. You know, Putty will fix that. So here we are with the instructions. Pretty basic instructions. Mpc's models were basic, but they were easy to follow. And you can see what this car had for it. We'll get to this engine. There was pretty cool things about the engine in this. And it came with your different versions. You could have it blown, injected, or carbureted. And the whole thing with the engine and the suspension chassis, everything like that. We've got the interior, the body, and the final assembly of the car. Now let's start off with this body. It is a very well proportioned, good looking 72, 73 Barracuda. It's my favorite Barracuda. I like the round tail lights. You have a couple of scars on this, not the kit's fault, just like we saw from the tires, but all around pretty decent looking grill there. Just a well proportioned body. Looks like a good looking Barracuda. It is just a fine specimen of a model. We're going to jump right into what some people would see as issues. I don't. Is this chassis. Yes, it's simplified. Remember what era it came from, but quite honestly, it's pretty good looking. It's a good representation of an E-body MOPAR, but look at them tubs. You never really saw that much. Of course, the simplicity of it is you can see how it's flat here. It's not done to have a rear end in there, and you got the holes there. There's really no lower control arms, upper control arm detail at all, but you got your holes to set your ride height, and we'll show you the rest of that. And here's what we have for the rear suspension, and this is all you have for the rear suspension. Take a look at that. That's it. Little tiny coilovers right there. You see those baby little things? And there's your rear end, and you can see it's just the bottom half. That thing, I don't want to take it off the tree. Let's move the body away. But it kind of just pops into these holes right here. It just goes on there, pretty simple. And you just put your metal axle through there and you're done. As a matter of fact, I'll just go and show you, since I have that Don Carlton car I'm working on. You can see the whole rear end setup after you have it glued in the chassis, and you just paint it up. When the car is built and the stance you got, it looks great. And as far as front suspension, there's nothing. That's it for the front suspension. That's all they gave you. Here's the rear lower valance and the dashboard. That's all that's on that tree. The next tree we're going to look at is a little more race car-y, and you have a more race car dashboard you have to choose from, with gauges on there engraved, and just real flat look, and that gives it a kind of a cool look. A little more purpose-built car. There's part of that rear wing. It's a one-pillar rear wing. Never really ever used that. Wasn't a fan of it. Here is some cool stuff for if you're going to do the blower setup. The intake and the front. For a Hemi, you've got your injectors right there. Injector horns, that is. Now here we go with the engine. It's a very, very basic, very incredibly basic Hemi. But it gives you the shape. Not that impressive, but you know what? I have built this thing. I'm going to show it to you. I do have a built-up version on what you can do with it. This comes with the Chrysler Torque Flight Automatic. You don't have a stick. It's not a stick car like what it would be if it was a Pro Stock. I believe the older version may have had the manual transmissions. There's some nice seats for you. I like these seats. They're cool little old 70s racing seats. It's got the buckles and straps and everything detail. You can paint them up. And here is the chrome tree. And since we already looked at the engine, let's show you the rest of the engine parts that make it worth it. These are some of my favorite looking Hemi valve covers. They don't really look great chrome, but I used to strip these and paint them black, and they have a texturedness to them that they would really look cool. And you got a decent oil pan, and there's another intake for your dual carburetor setup, your blower. There's another oil pan. I'm not sure which. I think this is the oil pan you use. Not sure why it came with a different oil pan, but there's your injector setup right there. And you got a nice set of what looks to be Super Tricks. The wheels are really deep, but that's kind of a pretty cool looking set of wheels. And we'll flip on this side. You've got your water pump, basic carburetors, and there's a little scoop for the blower right there. It's in two halves, and that's the chrome tree. Now here is that engine built, and this right here is from another kit that I'm working on. I found a high rise. Now that's actually from the Johan Sox and Martin Cuda, but there's those valve covers, and when you paint them black, they just have a really cool look about them. I hope you're getting the gist of it off the camera. Let's get this down here and take a look. See that texture they have? You can see it's not very detailed, but when you got it built up in the car, it does make a pretty decent looking Hemi. It's just all how you work it. Here we go with a basic roll cage. It looks like it's wrapped. It fits into that car pretty decent. It's a pretty simple roll cage. We got another set of gauges right here if you wanted to do something different for your dashboard. I think that fits into the stock dashboard, and then you have race gauges there. There's one of the wheel inserts. There's the other wheel inserts inside of the wheel. We've got a pretty basic firewall. Got kind of simple headers, not really great headers, but they fit in this kit and work well for the Hemi. And this is the grille inserts right there. You just paint those black and pop them in. A very sparse race car style looking interior there. They put some rivet detail, if you can see that. Look right there, see, it comes with an automatic, yet you got the boot for the shifter that would be a 4-speed. There is your typical MOPAR sport wheel. I like it. That's a air cleaner for the dual carburetor setup. And the hood got mashed by more tires laying out, but this is the only hood that this kit comes with. I hated years ago, but I kind of like it later. That is just an old style pro stock fiberglass hood. You know, that worked for the Don Carlton car. That's basically what it came from, so that's what you were stuck with when you got your street version. And you have some regular street, typical Mopar high back seats. They're pretty decent looking, well engraved. Your glass, and you got your special tire marks with your glass. That's always a bummer with these old kits when you get an old kit. Look at that. I always like that. Nice tail lights. Already red. You have to do a little bit of painting in there if you want to make them look totally accurate. Got yourself your nice transparent red for your tail lights. There's, you know, your radiator core support. And you want to look at the tires. What we got is those good old Mpc Slicks that when it later AMT took over. I always like these slicks, old Goodyear slicks. There's actually some of my favorite. They fit in that car really nice. It's probably where they'll sit. And then you have just some regular street tires for the front. And there's your short little metal axle for the rear. The front doesn't have axles, there's just pegs that go in there, plastic pegs, but you got your axle for the rear. And last we got the decals. We've got some cool Cuda fonts right there to put on the side, and some striping that goes over the side of the car and onto the hood. And you've got, of course, to make it a pro street, not a pro stock race car, license plate, because that's all you got to do is put a license plate on it and a race car turns into a street car in model car world. There you have it. There's the kit. Cool kit. Love this kit. I really do. So there you go. Cool kit. Really cool kit. Nice looking Barracuda. If you guys ever see one, don't hesitate to grab it. Don't go, oh, it's simple looking and yuck. Yeah, you got, you could even kit bash, you know, a newer Barracuda kit. I have done that before with some of the little more detailed ones, if you choose to do so. But quite honestly, this thing comes out of the box really, really nicely. It is really good looking. So please be sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Don't forget to check out our Teespring store. We've got some great merch. We got some excellent looking shirts with Model Car Hobby headquarters on them, and even our neat mug so you can drink your cold coffee. If you want to help support the channel, we've got a Patreon. Please get on there and give us a boost. It really helps us out a lot. So we're going to keep these videos coming to you. I hope you enjoyed this Luka kit. We'll be back with another episode. Keep on building model cars because it's fun. And we'll see you in the next video.
Luka's kids, it's Luka's kids, it's Luka's kids.